Hi all, welcome to the real life cement story of Teams Direct Routing by David Chomca. Hope you enjoy. I'll hand it over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm excited to be one of the speakers who are basically starting the Commsverse after the initial keynote, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to speak in front of the community. Maybe I should not say that because maybe you will run out. This is the first time when I have the opportunity to speak really for the tech community and having the opportunity to say loud the real life cement story of Teams Direct Routing and share the story of me and definitely of our direct routing implementation. So big applause for the sponsors. Thank you very much for making this happen, and definitely big applause to all of these guys who are behind the scene of the Commsverse. Well, it's a story, and I should start with some fairy tale maybe. Why not to do that? We have also a hero, collaboration hero, and let me introduce you to Semi, and I will tell you a little bit of the fairy tale story about this collaboration hero. So once upon a time, there was a phone on Semi's desk, and yeah, he was quite sure that this is the thing that will never disappear from his desk. That this will be really there. It was like glued with the best cement ever. But one day, and it was not so long time ago, Semi was asked basically to remove the desk phone from his desk. And Semi, our collaboration hero, was accepting that challenge and made himself ready for a completely new way of work. And the biggest reason for that was that he was moving to the brand new built office in Heidelberg, in the headquarters of HeidelbergCement, and where everybody in this building will use just the soft phone. So this is Semi now using the soft phone. And this is where the real life cement story about Teams Direct Routing begins. And let me introduce also myself and my company. HeidelbergCement is one of the biggest producers of the construction materials products. And we have a presence in more than 50 countries with almost 60,000 of employees. And our products are used for the construction of houses, infrastructures, and commercial and industrial facilities. And there are many interesting buildings which are constructed basically using our products. And we are producing cement, aggregates, ready-mix concrete, asphalt. And for example, one of the famous and very nice buildings, which is just using our products, Bridge in Genova, the new one, or Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. So I'm really excited for working for this company, and not only because of the products which we are doing, but also because of the IT. And I'm just right now sitting in the company. I'm right now at work in Czech Republic in the Global IT Center, which is a part of the HeidelbergCement Group. It's an IT hub. And my name is David Chomca. I'm working as a voice engineer already for some years, and this is my motto, that only voice engineer and really crazy person could be so happy that the phone is ringing when I'm calling myself. You will never know how that feeling is if you do not experience that when you are building something like this voice over IP infrastructure, and for the first test call that you are making, the phone is ringing, and you are so excited like a small kid. Yeah, since 2011, I'm focused on the voice over IP and collaboration and telepresence and all these things. Currently located in Czech Republic in a very nice city called Brno. And since 2014, I'm working for HeidelbergCement for the global IT, for One IT. And since 2017, I'm more in charge of the architecture as a system engineer for the global services, which I basically create a design for, an architecture, and then our countries are using that service on the global scale. And since 2019, I'm product owner for communication and collaboration. So I'm not talking only about the voice and video, but also about other communication stuff. And the year 2019 is the year when the story begins. And my journey with Microsoft Teams has begun. So let's have a look on Semi presenting the new building. And it's not only the story about the Teams Direct Routing partially, but it's also the story about moving of HeidelbergCement employees into the Office 365 and now called Microsoft 365. And Semi knew that he will be moving to the new building, and there was a clear message. in 2018 coming from the board. David, we need to find out if we can use Teams as soft phone because there should not be any desk phone in the new headquarter building. Well, imagine that you have a company where the average age of people is over the 50. Would you believe that you will have something like the message that there will be no hard phone, no desk phone on the desk, that the people will really move to the soft phone? I really didn't have that pressure at the time, but I started to explore the Microsoft Teams as the possibility for the soft phone. So what will be the story about? It will be about finding our own way. And I will not tell you what's the best thing on the world, how to do the direct routing, if you should go for the my calling plan or not. I will describe you our own way, how we did it, and what is important for us to implement it correctly, and what were the initial issues, because also in small detail might mean the big difference at the end. I will tell you about the decision-making process of go or no go, and every single story should have a little bit of drama, and this was a drama. So I will also tell you about our way of user adoption and what you might miss when you move to the Microsoft Teams as your soft phone. So finding your own way. To find your way, you need to know where you stand, but more importantly, where you are going to. Because if you do not cover in the design and architecture the changes which will happen in the future, then your current design, might be then not usable. So what I needed to cover, most changes were related to our really journey to Office 365, talking about the network, but mainly talking about the collaboration tool. So we used Skype for Business on premise for chat. We had the minimal usage of one-to-one audio calls, and we used a lot of screen share functionality in the Skype, and there was no PSTN calling at all. It's a greenfield, nice. For implementations of such a thing like a Teams direct routing, very nice. For the user adoption, much more tricky. So we moved in the future, and we would like to do the full collaboration with Microsoft Teams in Teams only mode. Nice and clear path. Another change, talking about the journey to Office 365, you need to cover something like a network. So we had in 2019 MPLS WAN links for our remote sites, and we had the regional data center, and the connection of the remote site to the public internet was happening through the centralized breakout. Not really the nice way for Office 365, but it was the reality. And I needed to count it within the current state, but also within the future state. That there will be also the remote site, which will have the direct internet access. And maybe there will be in the future the sites which will not have the WAN link at all. And everything will happen over the direct internet access. So another change. We have the majority of the setups within the centralized PBX infrastructure. So our voice over IP was happening through the central server, or in some of the countries is still happening over the central PBX. And we have many voice ingresses on sites. So you can imagine the small remote site where you have the ISDN gateway. And we needed to cover the thing which is moved to the centralized SIP trunk. So ISDN will have the sunset. In some of the countries, the sunset of the ISDN technology is currently really the hot topic. And we need to be sure that we will cover the Teams direct routing topology within the move of the local voice ingresses to the central SIP trunk, which will be located in the regional data center. But there will be also some countries and some sites which will still need to have the local voice ingress from many reasons. And I will not talk about all of these possibilities, but you need to cover that. So what were my challenges? Public IP available only in the data center because the corporate network topology is clear. Corporate firewall, NAT, and everything like the public IP should be located only where you have the firewalls. So on small remote site, having the direct routing within the session border controller and public IP directly on site, no, that's not possible. Public IP available only in data center. It needs to be the future-proven design of direct routing, reflecting that the sites will be different network layout and developing network layout. And I need to cover that the sites with central SIP trunk, and there will be also the sites which will have the local voice ingress. At that time, 2019, at the beginning, no certified session border controller in infrastructure yet that can handle the Teams direct routing. So new technology, no experience with Microsoft phone system. At that time, at all. Another challenge, which was quite big. An enterprise voice network in our company, we do not have only one PBX system. We have many. And some of them are interconnected to very big enterprise voice network just to keep the internal calls really as internal. And that's challenge. Now you are moving within the different system altogether with all of these existing. And might be that you would like to keep that opportunity to have the internal calls still internal. So what was my way? Okay, at the beginning, I had a local ISDN breakout in Heidelberg. ISDN gateways, remote site. Actually, it was 5 buildings, which will move in the future into the one building, which is just right happening. There was the WAN connection to the regional data center, and in the regional data center, we had the PBX system. So what I did, I built the Teams direct routing session border controller enabled. As you can see the logo, I will not be shy that I use the audio codes virtual machine, virtual edition of the session border controller. And basically I have built up the virtual machine, which I connected within the PBX and not directly within the voice ingress, which was probably the most crazy thing that I have did for many of the people which I was talking with. But at that time, it was the clear thing for me that I needed to do. And I will tell you why. So I leveraged the connection within the existing PBX. And basically, when I wanted to route some of the numbers from the PSTN to the Microsoft Teams, as a new enabled Microsoft Teams user for the telephony, I basically say on the current PBX system, hey, this number is not anymore the phone located on the desk of the user, but it will be the Teams user. So please send the call to the session border controller, and on the session border controller, please let's do that magic that the user will ring. Okay, what was the benefit for me? It was independence for the pilot. I was able to route the the numbers which I wanted to have the possibility of the Teams direct routing and of the Teams telephony very independently. I was able to keep the calls internal. There was a really flexibility in the call routing, and I was able to do the phased migration, and it was also the provider independent solution. So imagine there will be another remote sites which will need to run the proper Teams pilot for 1 or 2 users, and it will be just very easy because on the central PBX system, I will just reroute their numbers to the session border controller, and it will go to the Teams. It's a nice and easy, and I do not have to do anything like asking and searching for the provider and enabling for specific numbers, or maybe just the test numbers and then migrate them. No, very straightforward change on the PBX. But there is a but always. It's much more complex call routing at the end. And there is additional point of failure for such a cause because you have the PBX system. And still, you don't have the optimal media routing. Definitely, it's not the state where you would like to be for the AGs. So for the pilots, great. For the future, well, at the end, if you move all of the people from the PBX system to the Teams, it's easy to connect your voice ingress directly to the session border controller and do that connection directly. And I will talk about this possibility in the different topologies which you might hit. So that's the way how we did. But we needed to think about the future, right? So and I told you that there will be in the future the SIP trunk. So talking about the story, yeah, what about if this ISDN gateway will go away and I will move the this voice ingress for my Heidelberg office, corporate office, to the SIP trunk, to the central SIP trunk? Well, no problem. Still, I can keep the connection within the PBX system because maybe there are still some users who need to use the PBX or the analog devices, or there will still be some phones. But I can still also create this direct connection between the voice ingress and the audio code session border controller for the Teams. And I can route the media in much better way. And definitely keeping the media pipes enabled for such a course. It's very nice and easy that having the connection over the WAN, I can keep the calls in our internal network, in our corporate PIDI network, and the media will work nicely. And even I'm able to handle some of the quality of service. So complex call routing, Yeah, still, but there are no additional point of failures within this direct connection. And there is a much better and nicer optimal media routing. And I'm ready for the direct internet access because when I will just move this connection of the WAN of the remote site through the WAN to the regional data center, and I will have the direct internet access to the Office 365. So yeah, well, my central SIP trunk will stay, and then the media can go over the internet, over the very nice and complexly set up and built within the full of redundancy Microsoft Transport relays for the teams. So thinking about the future, yeah, there is definitely one thing which will stay for some of the countries, for some of the sites, and it's a local voice ingress. From whatever reason, legal, for example, that your voice ingress cannot be in a different country, or that there is no way how to move, your numbers from this country to the central SIP trunk located in Germany, in UK, whatever. So there still need to be something which you need to keep in mind. Hey, you will need to have maybe some setup which will work also for the local voice ingresses. And yeah, so let's have an imagine the situation that you would like to go away within the PBX system. You would like to build the direct connection from your local voice ingress located on the remote side within the session border controller located in the data center. Yes. So maybe just put another session border controller or gateway directly on the remote side. And I'm so happy that finally, since June 2020, we can use the double media bypass. That's my way, how I call it. I mean, local media optimization. That's awesome. Now, really, for the enterprises, the big change. And I'm happy that I have built this central data center session border controller over here, because now I can just use this central session border controller also as the proxy, and I can keep the media nicely locally here. And I believe that there will be another sessions about the local media optimization, much more deep dive. Even I'm looking forward for one of the sessions, which is 400, and I'm happy to jump on that because this is my current challenge. Building a local media optimization for the small remote sites or remote sites where basically the voice ingress needs to stay on there. So session border control as the proxy one within the public IP and the private IP of the session border controller located on the remote side. That's exactly what will bring the local survivability potentially for phones, not only talking about the soft phones, but time to time you still need to have these hard phones on the table. And especially when you are talking about some the resilience of the voice services, then it might be beneficial to have the hard phone on the desk, which will be then nicely communicating within the local session border controller, and will keep the calls ringing for you if whatever happens within the direct net and access or within the WAN connection is just for sake and just to keep the business running. So if you have also the local analog lines, that the local session border controller will work for you and for making this connection happen to the Microsoft phone system. And it's the way how to even run the local country SIP trunks. So as I said, session border controller in the DC as proxy. And the way how we are doing that I'm leveraging one session border controller in high availability pair here as the central one. So I can make the connection directly with any provider, which I'm having in this as a SIP trunk in the data center, or I can basically connect whatever PBX system here, but I can also use it within the different FQDN, within the different domain name, and within the different port, as become my proxy session border controller for the local media optimization. So still one SBC, which I have built already in January 2019, and I can use it for the future. So this is the story about how we are doing within the topology of direct routing. And where there are some issues, yes. At the beginning of January 2019, when I started the exploration of how to implement the direct routing, definitely there were. So how was the deployment going? It was not in 20 minutes. I'm sorry, it was not really in 20 minutes. And even if some session says that it can be built in 20 minutes, in the corporate environment, it might not be the case. So It was few days of exploring, learning, fighting, trying to find the good sources. It was about searching also around the community of the teams, fellows and teams enthusiasts. And I'm so happy that I found out in 2019 that there is such a huge and great community of the teams fans and teams technical deep dive guys. And I was able basically, based on that searching and exploring, build the right virtual machine, enable the certificates, create the right DNS, fighting with our security guys in regards of the firewalls. And, all of these discussions are usually very tricky because you need to know exactly what you need to do. And my network background was very useful at that time for that. So then configuration itself, 20 minutes, yes, might be. And I need to thank you community to make this happen, because at that time it was a little off source where I can find the details, but I found that. And a huge thank you for everybody sharing the knowledge. So in 16th of January 2019, so really few days after I started the journey, I posted the message in the Teams channel for informing my managers that incoming PSTN calls routed to Teams are working. I was so excited about that. And a few days later, I also had the outbound calls possible. Why it took so long? Yeah, firewalls, complex setup, because I was routing the calls through another PBX system. I was not directly using the voice ingress connected to the session border controller. So there was a complexity inside of that, but very huge benefit afterwards for me to make the migration of users happen. So in 2019, beginning 2019, the phone system, I would call it was in the nappies. So till April 2019, there was a missing media bypass. And even after that, it was in early stage, and there were some bugs, even on the session border controller. There was really still the space for improvement, I would say. And in the corporate network like us, within the centralized internet breakout for many sites there, it was unusable without the media bypass, because routing the calls from your local voice ingress somewhere into the data center, then to the internet, and then back through the same internet breakout in the DC, and then to your Teams user sitting next to the LAN room where the voice ingress was coming. It was a long path for the media, and not really the best way how to do that. But within the media bypass, it improved, and it was a future-proven story. So there was also no caller ID. What? Imagine that you have the huge voice network and everything, like, calling ID, SIP, sessions, everything, all is there. Why I do not have the caller ID coming in the SIP message that I was able to see in the logs from my phone, from my desk phone, and on the Teams, that was just the number. In activity feed, just the number. No name. Okay, it improved. Later, Q4 2019, it came, and big applause. In June 2020, we have in call activity feed also the names. Great, awesome. But that time in nappies. Never being busy phone calls. Yes, there was no busy on busy. So all your calls coming to your busy environment of Microsoft Teams, being on the meeting, having the calls with somebody else. Another call coming? Yeah, sure. Just ring it directly to the headphones. In May 2019, it improved. Huge applause for the Microsoft guys that they are listening to the feedback of the customers, especially on the user voice. And it happened. Another ugly story, firewall hairpin for transfer of calls with media bypass, hell. In corporate firewalls, you will find such crazy things that you need to do in order to make the media bypass working. And if you enable the media bypass, most probably some of your calls will be without audio, but you need to go over that. You need to explore, go and focus on the logs, and you will find the reason why, definitely, because it's working. It's proven, it's working, and even in the corporate network, it will work. So there were also huge delays in the connection of media time to time, caused by network, caused by delays of the software. Now, totally different story. It's much faster. It's a totally different story about the way how this is working. And even now, we do not have these issues like you can maybe find on some of the forums, like within the big delay when you click on the music on hold, that it's crazy long time until the call is really put on the music on hold. But there are some things which are still good to know about. So what was the decision making? Go or no go with Teams phones? There were still some glitches which didn't work properly. There was still developing way how the networks are changing and the media bypass not working 100%. So we needed to find a way how quickly. And if I look on that now, after summer break, I improved the solution to be really the production one. I onboarded my colleagues, which helped me a lot within the migration of the users in the pilot. And after the summer break, we migrated till November, almost 300 users in the waves, and we were gathering the feedback for the final decision. And we used for that also the Teams telephonic community in the Teams, because Teams helped us a lot within the communication with the pilot community. They had the possibility of the direct communication with us, fast feedback, and it helped us also the shape, the frequently asked questions from all of these questions which were appearing after the migration. And it was a really good source of knowledge for the new onboarded users. So if something should happen, it will happen, especially when you are talking about the decision day, a week before incident. Yeah, go or no go when the incident is happening and almost all of your users in the pilot are now losing the dial pad. Well, not good. Yeah, there was a drama. It was a drama which happened, and we had a serious incident in the background, which was happening within the synchronization in the cloud. And basically, our users were losing the online voice routing policy from their settings. But everything we saw in the configuration was correct. It was not nice because it was happening somewhere in behind. But Microsoft was able to jump on it. It was a sleepless night time to time because gathering the logs and testing and everything. And luckily, we were able to fix it. But synchronization is my most hated word when we are talking about the cloud services. And the golden rule of 24 hours, especially when the Teams is really exhausted by onboarding new users, just waiting 24 hours to get the things really visible. No, it's the fact. You need to come over it. And I'm now getting used to it. That's the fact. So, accepting missing some details, like in November 2019, we still didn't have the caller ID in the activity field in the voicemail. And it was a big critical problem for a lot of people, believe me. And the decision was made. Go. So we did it. We started to migrate the people. And we started within the user adoption. We started to communicate. And believe me, IT people are not the best for telephony pilot. Even if your CIO loves your solution, it doesn't mean anything, especially when you have a company, as I said, within the average age after the 50 years old. So we try to define the personas. Usually the departments will help you. And for us, it was the biggest thing. We search per each department some champions, and we basically put them into the pilot. We gather the feedback. What are the use cases? And within that, we also identified some of the habits. It was not about usually missing feature, but about the habit, how they are usually used to do the things within the desk phone. And you need to communicate, you need to show the new ways. And when you're exploring the special use cases, you never think about it. For example, what if my colleague is ill? In Germany, if you are ill, you are not supposed to work. Even to joining somewhere and changing your settings, no, you should not do that. You are ill, you are out of the office, do not work. So I'm in the office, so I will just go to the office phone of my colleague and I will change the forwarding just to route the calls to me. Awesome. How you would do that with the Teams? Call delegation. Okay, cool. So you need to find the new ways. So another story, wireless affecting the health. You wouldn't think about it, but really, there are people really sensitive about the wireless. And if you would like to move them to the soft phone and giving them very nice and shiny wireless headset, it will not work for them. And what about the hearing aids? You need to think about also these special cases, that it will not fit for everybody. And what about the use cases like phones without the owners? You have a post office in the company, and there are people changing on the shifts, and they do not have the possibility to sit in front of the PC and changing, just the credentials just to receive the calls. So you might solve this within the common area phones and giving them the different setup, really finding the hard phone onto their desk. And what about the temporary workers? They need to receive the calls, but they do not have the account. But you need to know that these people are behind these numbers. So how you would like to approach that if they do not have the account in your corporate Active Directory and they do not have the license, but you need to give them the opportunity to have the call. Okay, so maybe let's use the general accounts. Maybe, again, switch back to the phones because these people will really need them. And the soft phone story will be not 100% true. So communication against the rumors. That was the key. Posters. We needed to communicate in upfront. Digital Workplace Hub. For our Office 365 journey, it was very necessary to communicate and give the people the hub where they can find the information. So we had also the articles, the briefings, morning coffees, where we are basically spreading the good message about the things which are upcoming. What will be the benefits of the things, introducing the stories of the people who are really coming from the community of the people who will receive that new service. It was very important. And Microsoft Teams helped us a lot because with every single new user coming into the Teams telephony, he was put into the community in the Microsoft Teams channel, and they were able to raise the issues, raise a hand, what was the problem, what is the problem, maybe search in some question and answers, going to the known issues that we are working on that, spreading the feedback, good or bad messages. But it was important. Our challenge for the adoption of the Teams was not only that we were switching the people from the Skype for chat to the Teams, but it was also about the change to the soft phone. And it was not only about the change from the soft phone, but also from handset to the headset. And the different way how you are managing your calls with a click, not within the button. And it's a big difference. So what were the bottlenecks? It was very easy to fall into the trap of the hybrid environment. And what I mean with that, hybrid environment is tricky when you have the PBX system with a lot of users on the desk phone and then the users on the Teams. So there were confusions coming from that. And what I mean, how to do the screen share while being on the PSTN call. Okay, so I'm on the PSTN call with my colleague who is calling me from his desk phone, and I don't need to do the screen share. So, but I'm on the call in the Teams. I cannot do the screen share with him because I'm on call with him on the desk phone. How can I do that? Yeah, there is a solution for that. Just add user into the conference and share the screen. But it's a confusion, right? How to do the transfer to non-migrated colleagues? Probably license all users in advance, because if you try to transfer the call, the PSTN call, to another Teams user who is not licensed for the enterprise telephony or enterprise voice, it will fail. So how you recognize that this user is already migrated or not? Just rather license them and it will start to work. But once the decision was made, we went forward with all of the departments and the story was moving forward. And one key message from my side, the headset is a key of the success. So we took a time, we defined our personas for the headset usage because you have different working style in the different environments. You might use the wired one or the wireless one. You have the open office, you have a closed office. Not one really fits to all, especially challenging for ladies if you imagine that they have a nice haircut from the hairdresser and now I should wear it like for whole day. No. So the headset is the most important tool for the user to have also the good experience within the service. And you need to take it into the account from my perspective. So we made a showroom. We have chosen one of the headset vendor, and we show all of these headsets in the showroom, and the head of the departments were able to look on it, test it, and they were happy about it. So we distributed the headsets in advance, and it was very important that talking about the headset, we realized that more nice features on the headset cause more complexity, and that the people are struggling with that. So we also engaged our floor workers for the installation and fixing of the issues, and giving the users the all of these things like for the initial state, because there were some issues with Skype taking over the headset commands. So the headset buttons were not working because the Skype in the background running was consuming these things. Users were not installing the USB dongles. They were trying to install it directly within the PC, which is not a recommended way, and stuff like that. So I'm now heading the end of the session, and just some heads up what you might miss, because there is all the time space for the improvement. So what you might miss as the former voice over IP features from your on-premise PBX, once you have this second call ringing, it will annoy you. And if you are not having now the busy on busy feature enabled, because for example, you are the secretary of the CEO and you need to have all the time available position to receive the calls from your CEO, even if you are in the call with another important person like your wife, you just need to have this opportunity of receiving the second call. So you might miss the voicemail on busy, forwarding on busy, or silent notification of the second call, because it will really ring to you. I have a workaround for that, and I can spread the knowledge afterwards, definitely, how to work around this kind of a silent notification. So another thing, forwarding notifications missing. Call history info about the forwarded calls. If you have the forwarding enabled, maybe you will notice that it's not able to find out very easy. No way. There is no way how to dial telephone number by pressing some key combination. Imagine I'm in the edge. I will just mark the number and I will press the hotkey and it will dial the number for me. It was possible with our former UC collaboration to bond it with our phone. Not working. But maybe you will find your own way. We developed the small tool by ourselves. It just registered the global hotkey using the tel URI. You're pushing the combination of the clipboard content to the Teams, and it will dial for you. Nice and easy. Music on hold experience is still something which you will consider different, because you might miss the custom music on hold per user, which was the case of HeidelbergCement to have. And if you find out that when you are doing the transfer and consult, that basically you are not playing the music on hold to the caller and there is just a silence. But if you put the user on hold, that there is a music on hold, but you cannot do the transfer or consult, still, I believe that's something which you will find out cumbersome. So specifically for managers and secretaries, now we call them in the Microsoft phone system delegates. The transfer of the call offers only Teams contacts, and the search does not return the personal contacts. Tricky for some of the secretaries. The consult of call, if you have a look on the possibility to consult with SEMI, there is only audio call over the Teams and the chat. You are not having the possibility to consult with that person, for example, over the mobile phone, which is the case that our secretaries time to time they want to have. You need to dial manually basically the number for the consultation. You need to remember that. Not good. So multiple numbers stored for one contact sometimes make a confusion. For example, if the wife of the CEO is calling and you have this number stored in the contacts as your CEO, while you think that your CEO is calling, but it's not your CEO, it's his wife. Might be confusing. And there is also a missing possibility to take the call if the boss missed to accept that call. But there is a workaround for that. You can reroute the call to the phone number of the secretary if you don't answer on the setup of the boss. So some nice to have as a feedback from the users, not really the important. I would like to still focus also on some questions. So you can be delegate for your colleague, but not vice versa. You remember that use case within the desk phone? I was able to change the routing for my colleague on the desk phone. Well, this is not working easily. You can be delegate of somebody, but that person cannot be delegate of you. So you cannot do that same favor for your colleague to change the routing in case that he or she is ill. And once the call hit busy person, it just dropped without no other sound. So if you call me now, for example, it will just drop you within the message that I'm busy, because I have the busy on busy enabled, but it will be so quick that you maybe find out that there was some, faulty call or whatever. So just nice to have. Deleting the call history would be nice to have just to clean the mess. And I, for example, observed that a few weeks ago that if I'm in the D&D status, my Teams client is not ringing, but my docking station for the headset is ringing. Yeah, kind of strange. And in the personal contacts, if you are the structured person, you would like to have the possibility to maybe, structure your personal contacts also based the department or the company or something like that. But there is only way how to do it in the Teams client, only about by the name. So was it a good or bad end? Definitely good. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask me, and I'm definitely happy to jump out into the breakout session. So Andrew, is there anything in the chat popping up as a question?
Yes, we had a couple of questions came up earlier. One was why not an LDAP on audio codes VSBC?
One of the things which we are definitely looking on, but at that stage it was not possible because it will be also a huge effort for me to build up the Active Directory in a way that it will work for me in terms of the proper call routing. And I knew that I will change that routing anyway because I will migrate the users and I will need to do some crazy stuff in the internal routing. So the point is we didn't have all of the voice ingresses pointing to the session border controller, like having all of these SIP trunks coming into the session border controller, but we were having these things from the downstream. We were having these local voice ingresses coming into the PBX. So it was a little bit more tricky from that perspective. But looking into that, yeah, know about that. Another one.
And then another question was, what about the Teams CQ and AA reporting?
Yeah, we started to use that beside or instead of the hand groups and the pickup groups. I consider that as a much more convenient method than the hand groups which we used in the past. Definitely the reporting is missing part, and well, there will be the third-party products definitely which will try to help us to solve it. And one of the focus for the future for me will be to have a look on the way how to tune it, and let's see if there will be the demand for the Teams contact center setup in our company, and maybe it will be the topic to see these possibilities. But we are running the reports also through Graph API, and Microsoft is doing quite a good job with all of these reports available through the quality dashboard. So yeah.
Well, there's a few more just come through. So let me just publish them. So the first one was, are you planning to switch completely to MS Teams without existing PBX? Which challenges occur?
There might be a challenges, definitely. For me, the phased approach was definitely the way how to do it, because I was able to easily move the people in the waves. So having the phone system connected to the PBX was the benefit, and I still believe in that. And once you, this would be the way how I would do it. Then just do the one big ban and move the people directly to the Teams direct routing, and move the voice ingress, basically the phone numbers move to the session border controller. I believe that the biggest challenge in terms of that is that once you do that, especially within the providers, then there is no easy way how to go back or how to mitigate that. You basically reroute the numbers for the people who are not supposed to be migrated or something like this. I eventually, there is the Teams direct routing story version 2, or the part 2, which was about the US implementation, when we basically in one day move 150 people from the former PBX system to the Teams direct routing. And I just told them, if you would like to use the Teams, now you are enabled for the outgoing calls. And if you would like to receive the calls also on the Teams, just reroute your number on your former platform. I will say it was a Cisco call manager. Just go to your user page and reroute the number to * your number, and it will route your calls to the Teams. And there was a very easy way how for the user, let them know, okay, now you will switch to the Teams. And if you are coming back to the office and you really still want to use your desk phone, just cancel that forwarding on your Cisco extension and move back to the Cisco phone. So easy way how to switch. So that would be my advice.
there are a few more questions that are coming in. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Yeah, sure.
But
I'm happy to answer over the chat, definitely.
Yep.
If I have a time, I will definitely answer over the chat. So feel free to ask me over the chat. And I believe that we can jump into the breakout session. So still, I have a time, if you want me to ask anything, I'm happy to.
I'm just going to paste the breakout session here.
Perfect, Andrew.
So thank you very much, David, for that. Thank you for everyone joining.
Awesome.
Here's the breakout session in the link.
Awesome. And
I'll leave that up for a few minutes.
I'm joining there straightforward.
Magic.
And Andrew, thank you very much for making the producer of my session. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for presenting.
Enjoy the Commsverse. Bye.
Dizzle. Bye now.